Captain Tejo stared at his screen. The coffee in his hand had gone cold an hour ago, but he did not notice. Something was wrong. The signals coming through the deep space array looked different tonight. He worked at the Mars Communications Station, a quiet job most nights. Usually, he monitored routine transmissions between Earth and the outer colonies, trading schedules, weather reports, sometimes a message from a lonely miner wanting to talk to family back home. Nothing exciting ever happened on the night shift, but this signal was different. "Hey, Rin, come look at this," he called to his junior officer. She walked over from her station, her boots clicking softly on the metal floor. Lieutenant Hay Rin was the station's language expert. She could read and speak 17 different alien languages. When humanity first joined the Galactic Assembly 15 years ago, people like her became very important. "What is it?" she asked, leaning over his shoulder. "It's a distress signal, universal protocol, coming from the Valaris system." Hay Rin's face went pale. "The Valith? Are you sure?" Tejo played the signal again. The computer automatically translated the alien language into Korean, then English, then Mandarin. The message was the same in every language. "Help us. We are under attack. Please, someone help us." The Valith were good people. They were not warriors or politicians. They were artists and teachers. When humans first entered the galactic community, confused and alone, the Valith had been the first to offer friendship. They taught humans how to navigate galactic politics. They defended Earth's right to join the Assembly when other species said humans were too dangerous, too violent, too unpredictable. The Valith had no enemies. Everyone liked them. They made beautiful art and wrote philosophy books that even alien species loved to read. They traded fairly and never started conflicts. So who would attack them? Hayren worked quickly, pulling up more data from the signal. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "There's video footage embedded in the transmission," she said. "Should I play it?" Tejo nodded. The screen showed scenes that made his stomach turn. Valith cities were burning. The beautiful crystal towers that reflected starlight in rainbow colors were now black with smoke. Alien soldiers in dark armor were everywhere. They were rounding up Valith civilians and forcing them into large cargo ships. The Valith people were small and delicate. Their bodies glowed with soft, bioluminescent light that changed colors with their emotions. In the video, their lights were flickering with fear. Children were crying. Parents were trying to protect them, but failing. "Who are those soldiers?" Tejo asked. Hayren zoomed in on one of the armored figures. "That's Krell armor. This is a Krell Dominion invasion." Tejo knew about the Krell. Everyone did. They were a military empire that conquered weaker species. They believed that might made right. Over the last 1,000 years, they had taken over 47 different worlds. The Galactic Assembly complained about them often, but never actually did anything to stop them. "We need to report this immediately," Tejo said. He opened a priority channel to Earth Command. Within 30 minutes, Admiral Dong Su appeared on their screen. The Admiral was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in the last Earth War before humanity reached the stars. He understood combat in a way that most modern humans did not. "Show me everything," the Admiral said. They transmitted all the data, the distress signal, the video footage, the analysis showing that the Krell had already destroyed 3 of the 7 continents on Valaris Prime. Admiral Dong Su watched it all in silence. When the video ended, he closed his eyes for a moment. "The Valith helped us," he said quietly. "When we were new to space, when other species wanted to keep us out of the Assembly, the Valith stood up for us. They asked for nothing in return." "What do we do, sir?" Tejo asked. "Have we notified the Galactic Assembly?" "Yes, sir. Standard protocol. We sent the distress signal to them 40 minutes ago." "And their response?" Hayren checked her messages. "They acknowledge receipt. They are forming a committee to study the situation. Estimated response time is 6 to 8 weeks. Admiral Dong Su's jaw tightened. 6 to 8 weeks. That's standard for the assembly, sir. They have procedures. The Velith will be dead or enslaved in 6 to 8 weeks. The Admiral's voice was hard now. He turned to someone off-screen. Get me Dr. Young Mi. Now. A few minutes later, a woman appeared on screen next to the Admiral. Dr. Young Mi was Earth's top expert on alien cultures. She had studied at the Galactic University and written several books about how different species thought and acted. Doctor, explain to me why the assembly moves so slowly, the Admiral said. Dr. Young Mi adjusted her glasses. Most galactic species evolved on easy worlds, Admiral. Low gravity, mild weather, few predators. They never had to move fast to survive. War is rare for them. When it happens, they think they have all the time in the world to respond. And humans? Humans are different. Earth is what the galaxy calls a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous animals everywhere. Humans evolved having to make fast decisions or die. We understand urgency in a way that most species never will. Admiral Dong Su nodded slowly. Captain Tae Ho, Lieutenant Hai Rin, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Good work. He paused, then added, what you're about to see is classified. Do not discuss it with anyone. Yes, sir, they both said. The Admiral's image disappeared from the screen. For a moment, Tae Ho and Hai Rin just looked at each other. What do you think he's going to do? Hai Rin asked. Tae Ho thought about the look in the Admiral's eyes. He had seen that look before, in history videos from the old wars on Earth. It was the look of a man who had made a hard decision. I think he's going to do something the galaxy has never seen before. 48 hours later, Tae Ho and Hai Rin were called back to the observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see Earth's orbital shipyards. Normally, the shipyards were quiet, with only a few ships coming and going. Now, the shipyards were a storm of activity. Hundreds of ships were gathering. Destroyers, cruisers, carriers, massive battleships that had never been used in actual combat. Marines in powered armor were boarding transport ships. Supply vessels loaded enough ammunition and supplies for a major war. The flagship of the fleet was the largest warship humanity had ever built. The Indomitable. Admiral Dong Su's ship. They're actually doing it, Hai Rin whispered. They're going to war. Tae Ho watched as the fleet began to move. One by one, the ships activated their faster-than-light drives. Space itself seemed to bend around them. Then, in flashes of brilliant light, they were gone. 120 warships, 50,000 Marines, heading to Valaris Prime at speeds that would get them there in 6 days. The Galactic Assembly had asked for 6 weeks. Earth had given them 6 days. Humanity's first interstellar war had begun. Ambassador Sun He stood in the center of the Galactic Assembly chamber. 200 species had representatives here, and right now, every single one of them was staring at her. The chamber was enormous. It was built on Axion, a neutral world chosen specifically because no single species controlled it. The walls were transparent, showing the planet's blue sky and floating cities outside. Under normal circumstances, it was beautiful and peaceful. Today, it felt like a courtroom. You had no right, Ambassador Telvin shouted. He was a Rixian, a species that looked like large blue birds with 6 wings. His feathers were puffed up in anger. The Assembly has procedures. We have protocols. You cannot simply send warships across the galaxy without permission. Sun He kept her face calm. She had been a Navy captain before becoming a diplomat. She knew how to stay cool under pressure. The Velith sent a distress signal, she said quietly. They are being slaughtered. We responded. That is what friends do. Friends, another ambassador scoffed. This one was from the Talrin Collective, a species of crystalline beings. You've known the Velith for barely 15 cycles. We have maintained peaceful relations for thousands of cycles. Yet we do not launch invasions. With respect, Ambassador, Sun He replied, maintaining peaceful relations is different from protecting friends under attack. How long would your committee meetings have taken? 6 weeks? 8 weeks? Proper analysis requires time, Ambassador Telvin said. His translator made his voice sound shrill. We must consider all factors: economic impact, political ramifications, long-term consequences. This is how civilized species operate. Sun He felt her temper rising but controlled it. These people did not understand. They had evolved on worlds where danger came slowly, if it came at all. They thought in terms of generations, not days. The Valeth do not have 8 weeks, she said. They are dying right now. While you debate, Krell soldiers are loading them onto slave ships. The assembly chamber erupted in arguments. Some species demanded that Earth be expelled from the assembly. Others wanted economic sanctions. A few wanted to send their own ships to stop the human fleet. That last suggestion made Sun He almost smile. Almost. The species suggesting it had 10 warships total. Earth had sent 120, and that was only a third of humanity's full navy. Order! The Speaker of the Assembly, an ancient being whose species name humans could not pronounce, called for silence. Ambassador Sun He, your species has violated assembly law. Unauthorized military action is strictly forbidden. What do you have to say? Sun He looked around the chamber. She saw fear on many faces. The aliens were afraid of humanity. They had been afraid since the day Earth joined the assembly. Humans were too aggressive, too violent, too unpredictable. They came from a planet that had tried to kill them every single day. They had evolved by fighting and surviving and never giving up. The galaxy was not used to species like that. I will tell you what my government told me to say, Sun He began. We acknowledge that we did not follow procedure. We acknowledge that we acted without assembly approval. We do not apologize. Gasps filled the chamber. The Velith stood up for humanity when we were new to the galaxy. They defended our right to be here when others wanted to exclude us. They showed us kindness when we were strangers. Now they need help, and we will give it. That is what honor means to humans. That is what loyalty means. These are not just words to us. They are the reasons we do things. Before anyone could respond, a large screen at the front of the chamber activated. The Krell Dominion's representative appeared. He was tall and covered in thick armor. His face was hidden behind a helmet, but his voice was deep and threatening. The Krell Dominion issues a formal warning to Earth, the representative announced. You are interfering in our territorial expansion. This is a declaration of war. We have crushed species far older and more powerful than you. If you continue this foolish action, we will add your homeworld to our conquered territories. Turn back now, or face complete destruction. The message ended. Silence filled the chamber. Sun He felt her communicator vibrate. A message from Earth Command. She read it and felt a cold satisfaction. I have Earth's response to the Krell threat, she announced. She projected the message onto the main screen. It was only 2 words, sent by Colonel Ki Wan, commander of Mars Defense Force. Come try. Some ambassadors looked shocked. Others looked terrified. Ambassador Telvin's feathers drooped. You cannot be serious, he whispered. The Krell have conquered 47 worlds. They are one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. They have never fought Earth, Sun He said simply. A new voice spoke up. It came from Dr. Min Seo, a human xenobiologist who worked for the Assembly's Science Division. She had been sitting quietly in the observation section, but now she stood. May I address the Assembly? She asked. The speaker nodded. You may speak, Dr. Min Seo. The scientist walked to a secondary podium. She projected images onto the screens around the chamber, images of Earth, Hurricanes, volcanoes, earthquakes, predators with enormous teeth, diseases under microscopes. Many of you have questioned why humans seem so different from other galactic species, Dr. Mincio began. The answer is simple: evolution. Humans evolved on what you call a death world. Earth has high gravity, violent weather, and thousands of species that tried to eat our ancestors. She showed more images. Humans running, humans hunting, humans fighting. To survive, humans developed unique traits. They can run for hours without stopping, chasing prey until it collapses from exhaustion. They can lose up to 40% of their blood and remain conscious. They can function with damaged organs that would kill most species. When threatened, their bodies release chemicals that allow them to ignore pain and injury. Dr. Mincio paused, letting that sink in. Humans are persistence predators. They are pack hunters who form deep social bonds. And most importantly, they never give up, ever. This is not cultural. This is biological. This is what their planet made them become. Ambassador Telvin looked sick. We invited apex predators into our peaceful civilization. No, Sun He corrected. You invited a species that protects its friends with absolute dedication. The Velith showed us kindness. Now you are seeing what happens when someone threatens those humans care about. Another message appeared on the screens. This one was from the human fleet. Admiral Dong Su's face filled the display. This is Admiral Dong Su of the Earth Defense Force. We have received the Assembly's demands to turn back. We respectfully decline. The Velith are dying, and we will not abandon them. To the Krell Dominion, you have attacked our friends. This is unacceptable. We are coming, and we will not stop until the Velith are safe. To all other species watching, understand that Earth keeps its promises. We protect our own. And our definition of our own includes anyone who has shown us friendship. The message ended. Sun He looked around the chamber. My government has instructed me to inform the Assembly of Earth's position. We will not seek permission to defend our allies. When we hear a cry for help, we will respond immediately, with whatever force is necessary. You can expel us from the Assembly if you wish. You can impose sanctions. But you cannot stop us from doing what we believe is right. The chamber fell into chaos again. Species argued. Some demanded action against Earth. Others remained silent, thinking. In a quiet corner, the Velith ambassador sat with tears running down his bioluminescent face. He sent a message to his homeworld, to the survivors hiding in the ruins of their cities. The message was simple. The humans are coming. Hold on. The humans are coming. Back on Earth, Intelligence Officer Na Young reviewed everything known about the Krell military. She studied their tactics, their victories, their strategies, and she noticed something important. The Krell had never fought a species that fought back with equal ferocity. Every world they conquered either surrendered quickly or was too primitive to resist. The Krell were used to easy victories against peaceful species. They had never fought Deathworlders before. Na Young wrote a report for the Admiral. Her conclusion was simple. The Krell would lose. Not because they lacked weapons or ships, but because they did not understand what humans were. They did not understand that humans came from a world that tried to kill them every single day for millions of years. They did not understand that humans never learned how to give up. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valaris system. Captain Wu Sung, commanding the destroyer Retribution, immediately began scanning. What he saw made his blood run cold. 300 Krell warships surrounded Valaris Prime like a swarm of insects. Orbital bombardment had already devastated half the planet. The beautiful crystal cities that the Velith had built over thousands of years were now smoking ruins. Fires burned across 3 continents. Even from space, Wu Sung could see the destruction. Admiral, he reported over the fleet communication channel, enemy forces outnumber us 3-1. Planet surface shows massive damage, multiple population centers destroyed. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Dongsu listened to the reports coming in from all his ships. Every captain was telling him the same thing. They were outnumbered. They were outgunned. By standard military doctrine, they should retreat and wait for reinforcements. The admiral looked at the tactical display showing the Krell fleet. Then he looked at the planet below, where Velith civilians were dying. "All ships," he announced calmly. "Battle formation, Typhoon 7. Marines, prepare for combat drop. We are going in." His officers exchanged glances but said nothing. They had all volunteered for this mission. They all knew what it meant. The human fleet accelerated toward the Krell Armada. Their speed surprised the enemy. Most galactic warfare happened at long distances, with ships moving carefully and trading fire slowly. Humans did not fight that way. Aboard the Krell flagship, Warlord Kraxus watched the human ships approaching. He had read the intelligence reports about Earth. A new species, barely a century into space-age technology. They should be easy to defeat. "They are fools," he said to his officers. "They charge at us like animals. This will be a quick victory." His confidence lasted exactly 4 minutes. The human fleet opened fire with missiles traveling at relativistic speeds. The Krell shields, designed to stop the slower plasma weapons used by most galactic species, could not adapt quickly enough. 3 Krell cruisers exploded before they could even return fire. "What was that?" Kraxus demanded. His tactical officer checked the readings. "Kinetic weapons, my lord. Solid projectiles moving at extremely high velocity. Our shields are not calibrated for this type of attack." "Recalibrate them! Now!" But the humans were not waiting. Commander Subin, leading the carrier group, launched the first wave of fighters. Human pilots flew patterns that seemed insane to galactic observers. They dove through enemy fire, used gravity wells to slingshot around obstacles, and flew so close to enemy ships that collision seemed certain. The Krell pilots tried to engage them, but human reflexes were faster. Evolved in Earth's high gravity, human pilots could handle acceleration forces that would knock most species unconscious. They twisted and turned their fighters in ways that physics said should not be possible. Captain Wu Sung brought the Retribution in close to a Krell battleship. Very close. Dangerously close. "Sir, we are entering their point defense range," his weapons officer warned. "I know," Wu Sung said. "Hold course. Lock all weapons on their engine section." The Retribution shook as Krell weapons hit its shields. Damage reports started flooding in, but Wu Sung kept his ship moving forward until they were so close that the Krell could not miss. Then he fired everything. Railgun rounds tore through the Krell battleship's engines. The enemy ship began to spin out of control, colliding with 2 other Krell vessels nearby. "All ships," Admiral Dongsu's voice came over the fleet channel, "engage at close range. Do not let them use their numerical advantage. Make this a knife fight." The human fleet swarmed the Krell formation. It was not elegant. It was not clean. It was brutal. Close-quarters combat in the black of space. Warlord Kraxus watched in growing horror as his fleet began to fall apart. His ships were designed for long-range bombardment of defenseless worlds, not close combat with an enemy that refused to die. "They are taking heavy damage but not retreating," his tactical officer reported. "Multiple human ships have lost shields, yet they continue attacking. This is illogical." It was not illogical. It was human. On the Indomitable's bridge, Tactical Officer Hyun Soo coordinated the assault. He was not just targeting military vessels. He was calculating firing solutions for the slave ships holding Velith prisoners. The goal was to disable their engines without breaching the hulls. "Sir, this would be easier if we just destroyed them," one young officer suggested. Hyun-soo looked at him coldly. "There are civilians on those ships." "We did not come here to kill civilians. We came to save them." The battle became more chaotic. Several human ships were badly damaged. The destroyer Morning Light had lost its main engines and was drifting. But even drifting, it kept firing its remaining weapons. Sergeant Bomi led a Marine boarding party toward a damaged Krell cruiser. The Marines moved through space in their powered armor, using small thrusters to navigate. Krell defenders fired at them, and 3 Marines died before they reached the hull. Bomi felt the impacts as bullets hit her armor. One round went through her shoulder plate. Pain burned through her arm, but she kept moving. The armor's medical system injected drugs directly into her bloodstream. The pain faded, replaced by a cold, focused clarity. They cut through the Krell ship's hull and entered. Inside, they found Krell soldiers waiting. The aliens were bigger than humans, stronger, and wearing advanced combat armor. The Marines attacked anyway. Bomi moved forward, her rifle firing in controlled bursts. A Krell soldier charged her. She dodged barely and shot him 3 times in the chest. He fell. Another Krell grabbed one of her Marines, a young man named Jin Ho, and threw him against a wall hard enough to dent his armor. Jin Ho should have been knocked unconscious. Instead, he rolled to his feet and shot the Krell soldier in the face. The Krell had never fought humans before. They did not understand that humans could take damage that would kill or incapacitate most species and keep fighting. They did not understand that human Marines trained in Earth's high gravity, making them faster and stronger than they looked. Most importantly, they did not understand that humans simply did not know how to quit. Warlord Kraxus sent a priority transmission to the Krell homeworld. The humans are not like other species. They fight with no regard for their own safety. They accept casualties that would break any other military. I have never seen anything like this. We need reinforcements immediately. His transmission was cut off when 3 railgun rounds from the Indomitable punched through his flagship's bridge. Kraxus died instantly, along with most of his command staff. Without their warlord, the Krell fleet began to lose coordination. Ships started receiving conflicting orders. Some tried to retreat, others tried to regroup. A few attempted suicide attacks on the human flagship. Admiral Dong Su broadcast on all frequencies, in every galactic language. His voice was calm but hard as steel. "This is Admiral Dong Su of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked our friends. You have killed civilians. You have committed acts that humans consider unforgivable. You now have one chance to surrender. Release all Valith prisoners and withdraw from this system immediately. You have 10 minutes to comply." On what remained of the Krell command ships, officers debated. The Krell Dominion had never surrendered. Never. Their honor, their reputation, their entire culture was built on military dominance. They chose to keep fighting. Admiral Dong Su received their response and sighed. He had hoped they would be smarter. "All ships," he ordered, "no mercy. Destroy any vessel that refuses to surrender. Disable and board any ship carrying prisoners. Marines, hunt down every Krell soldier on the planet's surface. Free every Velith civilian you find." The battle entered its final phase. The human fleet, battered but unbroken, systematically destroyed the Krell armada. Ships that tried to flee were chased down. Ships that tried to hide were found. Ships that tried to fight were obliterated. In orbit around Valaris Prime, the last Krell battleship made a final, desperate transmission. "You are monsters," the Krell captain screamed. "You fight like demons. You feel no fear, no pain. What are you?" Captain Wu Sung, his ship damaged but still flying, answered, "We are humans. We are from Earth, and we protect our friends." Then he fired one last time, and the Krell battleship exploded into silence. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the battle at Valaris Prime through automated satellite feeds. The Galactic Assembly required all military conflicts to be recorded and broadcast for historical purposes. No one had expected this recording to matter. Most assembly members assumed the humans would retreat or be destroyed quickly. Instead, they witnessed something that changed their understanding of warfare forever. In the assembly chamber on Axion, representatives watched in stunned silence as the human fleet tore through the Krell armada. Ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Marines who should have been dead kept advancing. It defied everything they knew about combat. Ambassador Sun He stood among them, watching her people fight and die 47 light years away. She felt pride and grief in equal measure. "This is madness," Ambassador Telvin whispered beside her. His blue feathers trembled. "They are losing ships, losing soldiers, yet they do not retreat. Why?" "Because the Velith are still dying," Sun He answered simply. "And humans do not abandon their friends." On the screens, a small moment caught the attention of viewers across the galaxy. A single human Marine separated from her unit, wounded and alone. Her armor was cracked. Medical readouts showed she had a collapsed lung and multiple broken bones. She should have been unconscious or dead. Instead, Private Unji kept moving. A group of Krell soldiers discovered her position. They should have killed her easily, but Yunji fought with a desperation that terrified them. She shot 2 soldiers before they could react. A third tried to charge her, and she used the last of her ammunition to stop him. When her rifle ran empty, she drew her knife. The remaining Krell soldiers hesitated. This small, injured human should not still be a threat. But something in the way she moved, the way she refused to stop, made them afraid. They retreated. Yunji held her position for 17 more minutes, guarding a section where Velith prisoners were being held. She finally collapsed when her own rescue team arrived. Even then, her first words were asking if the prisoners were safe. The footage went viral across the galactic communication networks. Within hours, billions of beings had seen it. Private Yunji became a symbol of something the galaxy had not seen in thousands of years. A warrior who fought not for conquest or glory, but for the protection of innocent lives. Dr. Min Seo, the human xenobiologist, was called to give testimony before the Assembly's emergency session. She stood at the podium, looking tired but determined. "You asked me to explain human military performance," she began. "The answer lies in evolution. Humans are not just soldiers, they are survivors. Their entire species was forged by a planet that tried to kill them every single day for millions of years." She displayed biological data on the screens around the chamber. Heart rates, adrenaline levels, brain chemistry during combat. When humans face danger, their bodies change. Their heart rate increases, pumping more blood and oxygen. They release hormones that reduce pain sensitivity and increase strength. Their focus narrows to the immediate threat, allowing them to function despite injury. This response is automatic, built into their DNA. Ambassador Telvin raised a wing. "But surely all species have survival instincts." "Not like humans," Dr. Min Seo replied. "Most galactic species evolved on what humans call garden worlds, stable climates, few natural threats. Your survival instincts tell you to flee or hide. Human survival instincts tell them to fight, to never give up, to protect their group even at the cost of their own lives. This is not culture or training, this is biology." She showed images of Earth's history, humans climbing mountains, crossing deserts, surviving in frozen wastelands and burning jungles, fighting predators and each other. Humans are persistence hunters. On Earth, they hunted animals by chasing them for days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Humans can run farther, endure more, and survive worse conditions than almost any other species on their planet. They brought this capability with them to the stars. In the chamber, representatives from peaceful species looked disturbed. They had invited Earth into the Galactic Assembly thinking humans were just another species. Now they understood that humans were something different, something dangerous. But Ambassador Sun He noticed other reactions too. Representatives from smaller, weaker species were looking at the battle footage with a different emotion. Hope. On the planet's surface of Valaris Prime, Major Tae Jin led rescue operations. His teams landed in the devastated cities, searching through rubble for survivors. The destruction was worse than the orbital scans had shown. Entire neighborhoods had been leveled. Bodies lay everywhere. But there were also survivors. In a collapsed building, Tae Jin's team found a group of Velith children huddled together. They were terrified, their bioluminescent bodies flickering weakly with fear and exhaustion. When they saw the armored humans approaching, they tried to hide. Tae Jin removed his helmet so they could see his face. He knelt down slowly, making himself smaller and less threatening. "We are friends of the Velith," he said through his translator. "We came to help. You are safe now." One of the children, braver than the others, approached cautiously. She touched Tae Jin's hand with her small, glowing fingers. "You are the humans," she whispered. "The Deathworlders. We heard stories. They said you were scary." Tae Jin smiled gently. "We are only scary to people who hurt our friends. And the Velith are our friends." Medic Young-soo came forward with his medical kit. He examined the children carefully. Velith physiology was completely different from human biology, but Young-soo had studied alien medicine for this mission. He used equipment designed for humans and improvised treatments for the Velith children's injuries. News of the rescue operation spread among the survivors. The word passed in whispered, awed tones. The humans came. The humans actually came for us. In orbit, Admiral Dong-soo received a transmission from Krell High Command. They wanted to negotiate. The Admiral's response was brief and hard. "Total withdrawal from all Velith territory. Immediate release of all Velith prisoners throughout your empire, not just here. Reparations paid to cover rebuilding costs." "These terms are not negotiable." The Krell representative sputtered with outrage. "You cannot dictate terms to the Krell Dominion. We have honor. We have pride. We have—" "You have 24 hours, Dong-soo interrupted. "After that, my fleet jumps to your nearest colony world, and we do this again. Then we hit the next world, and the next. Every planet you have conquered, we will liberate. Every species you have enslaved, we will free. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." He ended the transmission. Across the galaxy, species that had suffered under Krell occupation for generations listened to that message. For the first time in living memory, someone had stood up to the Krell and won. Someone had told them no and made it stick. The Krell held emergency meetings. Their military leaders argued for continued war. But their politicians looked at the footage from Valaris Prime. They looked at human Marines fighting through injuries that should have killed them. They looked at ships so damaged they could barely fly, yet still firing their weapons. They looked at a species that simply did not know how to lose. 23 hours after Admiral Dong-soo's ultimatum, the Krell Dominion agreed to every single term. They would withdraw from Velith space. They would release all prisoners. They would pay reparations. It was the first surrender in Krell history. In the Galactic Assembly Chamber, Ambassador Sun He received the news. She showed no emotion, just a slight nod. Then she turned to address the Assembly one final time. "Earth's position has not changed," she stated clearly. "When we hear a distress call, we will respond. Immediately. With overwhelming force. We will not wait for committees or consensus. We will not let bureaucracy become an excuse for inaction. Any species that threatens innocent lives will face the full weight of human military power." She paused, looking around at the assembled representatives. "But we also offer you something. Protection. Any species that signs a mutual defense pact with Earth will have our complete support. You will never again face extinction while politicians debate. You will have Deathworlders standing guard." The chamber fell silent. It was an unprecedented offer, one species offering to protect the entire galaxy. In the observation galleries, representatives from 40 small, peaceful species looked at each other. They had watched what humans did for the Velith. They had seen human Marines fighting to protect alien children. They had seen medics improvising treatments for species they had never encountered before. They had seen what it meant to be humanity's friend. Within the week, requests for private meetings with Ambassador Sun He would flood in. But that was for later. For now, the galaxy simply watched and tried to understand what had just happened. Humans had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 months after the Battle of Valaris Prime, the Galactic Assembly convened for the most important vote in its 3,000-year history. The question was simple. How should the galaxy respond to Earth's unauthorized military action? Ambassador Sun He walked into the chamber knowing that today would determine humanity's future among the stars. Some species wanted Earth expelled from the assembly. Others demanded severe economic sanctions. A few radical voices even suggested military action against humanity, though those voices grew quiet when reminded that Earth's full military had never been deployed. The fleet at Valaris Prime represented only 30% of human naval power. The chamber filled slowly. Representatives from 200 civilizations took their places. Sun He noticed something interesting. The seating had changed. Species that had previously sat far from Earth's delegation now sat closer. Small, peaceful civilizations that had been quiet in past meetings now watched her with open interest. The speaker called the session to order. We are here to determine consequences for Earth's violation of Assembly law. Ambassador Sun He, you may make a final statement before we vote. Sun He stood and walked to the central podium. She carried no notes. She had thought carefully about what to say. Honorable representatives, she began, I will not apologize for what Earth did. I will not promise it will never happen again. In fact, I guarantee it will happen again. Shocked murmurs ran through the chamber. This was not how diplomatic speeches were supposed to go. Whenever an SOS reaches Earth, Sun He continued, whenever a species faces genocide or enslavement, whenever innocent lives are threatened and our friends call for help, we will respond. Immediately, with overwhelming force, without waiting for committees or consensus. This is who humans are. This is what we do. Ambassador Telvin rose from his seat. This is unacceptable. You cannot simply ignore Assembly law whenever you feel like it. You are correct, Sun He agreed. We cannot ignore your laws, so we offer you a choice. Change the laws, or lose us as members. But understand this. Whether we are in the Assembly or not, we will still respond to distress calls. The only question is whether you want to work with us or against us. She turned to face the entire chamber. But I also offer you something else. Something the galaxy has never seen before. Earth proposes the creation of the Deathworlder Protection Initiative. Any species that signs a mutual defense pact with humanity will have the full weight of our military power protecting them. You will never again face extinction while bureaucrats debate. The chamber erupted in arguments. Some species called it blackmail. Others called it imperialism. But Sun He noticed that 43 small species were listening very carefully, taking notes, whispering among themselves. Back on Earth, President Sang Mi addressed the United World Government from Seoul. She stood in the same building where centuries ago nations had argued and fought. Now, humanity spoke with one voice. The cost of the Deathworlder Protection Initiative will be significant, she acknowledged. We will need to maintain rapid response fleets throughout known space. We will need Marines trained for any environment. We will need diplomats, translators, and medical staff ready to deploy at a moment's notice. But this is a cost we are willing to bear. Because humans understand something that much of the galaxy has forgotten. Freedom is never free. Peace must be defended. and the strong have a responsibility to protect the weak. General Jiwan, commander of Earth's combined military forces, spoke privately with Admiral Dong Su. We are becoming the galaxy's police force. No, the Admiral corrected, standing on the bridge of the Indomitable as it patrolled the border regions. Police keep the peace. We are what happens when the peace fails. We are the response when someone ignores all the warnings and commits atrocities anyway. On Valaris Prime, reconstruction had begun. Human engineers worked alongside Velith architects to rebuild the crystal cities. The work was slow. The Krell had destroyed so much. But the Velith were a patient people, and they had help now. In the center of the rebuilt capital city, the Velith erected a monument. It showed a human and a Velith standing side by side, facing outward, protective. The inscription was written in both languages. They came when we called. Private Yunji attended the monument's dedication ceremony. She was still recovering from her injuries, walking with a slight limp. The Velith survivors treated her like a hero. Children asked to touch her hand. Adults bowed when she passed. She was uncomfortable with the attention. I just did my job, she kept saying. Lieutenant Su'a, her commanding officer, understood. That is what makes you a hero. You think what you did was normal. You think any Marine would have done the same. And you are right. That is what terrifies the galaxy. They realize that to humans, this kind of dedication is ordinary. In the Krell Dominion, former warlord Kraxus sat in exile. Stripped of rank and honor, he lived in a remote settlement far from the centers of power. But he still had visitors. Young Krell military officers came secretly to ask him about the battle. Tell us how to defeat the humans, they demanded. Kraxus laughed bitterly. You cannot defeat them. I tried. I had 300 ships. They had 120. I should have won easily. Instead, I watched my entire fleet destroyed by an enemy that does not understand the concept of losing. But surely there must be a way. Listen to me, Kraxus interrupted. The humans do not fight for territory or resources. They fight for their friends, for their values, for ideas. You cannot negotiate with that. You cannot intimidate it. You cannot break it. Their planet made them into the most dangerous species in the galaxy, and they do not even realize it. He looked at the young officers with tired eyes. My advice? Never provoke them. Never threaten species they have befriended. And if you absolutely must fight them, make sure you strike hard enough to destroy them completely in the first blow, because if you fail, they will never stop coming for you. The young officers left, troubled by his words. Across the Krell Dominion, a new understanding spread. Other aggressive species took note. Several border conflicts that had been building quietly suddenly cooled down. No one wanted to be the next to receive a visit from a Deathworlder fleet. Back in the Galactic Assembly Chamber, the vote finally came. The motion to censure humanity and impose sanctions failed by a narrow margin. But then something unexpected happened. The Velith ambassador rose to speak. His name was Kelvin, and he had survived the Krell attack by hiding in the ruins of his home city. He had watched his family die, he had seen his world burn, and he had seen humans risk everything to save people they barely knew. I propose a new motion, Kelvin said, his translator carrying the emotion in his voice. I move that the Galactic Assembly officially recognize Earth's right to respond to distress signals as they see fit, without requiring prior approval. Furthermore, I propose that we establish a formal framework for species to request human protection through mutual defense pacts. The chamber fell silent. This was not what anyone expected. The humans saved my species from extinction, Kelvin continued. They lost ships. They lost soldiers. They did this for us even though it violated your laws. Even though it risked their position in this assembly. I ask you all, what does it say about our laws if they prevent the rescue of innocent lives? What does it say about us if we punish the only species willing to stand up to evil? The vote on this new motion was closer. Many species were afraid of setting such a precedent. But in the end, enough representatives had watched the battle footage. They had seen Private Yunji fighting alone to protect prisoners. They had seen medics treating wounded Velith children. They had seen what humans meant when they said they protected their friends. The motion passed. Within days, 78 species requested meetings with Ambassador Sun He. These were the small civilizations, the peaceful traders, the artists and philosophers, species like the Velith, who contributed much to galactic culture but had no military power to defend themselves. They had watched what humans did. They wanted that protection. The Deathworlder Protection Initiative grew faster than anyone anticipated. Earth established permanent fleets in 6 sectors of space. Marines trained for rapid deployment to any environment. Diplomats learned new languages and customs. Medical teams studied alien physiology. Admiral Dong Su reviewed the fleet assignments from his quarters on the Indomitable. His second-in-command, Captain He Wan, asked if he was worried about humanity overextending itself. "No," the admiral said, looking out at the stars through the viewport. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to adapt, to survive, to protect our own. Now our definition of own just got bigger." He turned back to face He Wan. "How many distress calls have we received this week?" 3, all minor. Pirates attacking trade routes. Our patrol ships handled them easily. Dong Su nodded. "The galaxy is learning. Word spreads. Attack a species under human protection, and you face Deathworlders. That is a powerful deterrent." On Earth, in a small ceremony at Seoul National Cemetery, Private Yunji received the Galactic Medal of Valor. She was the first human to earn the honor. Representatives from 14 species attended the ceremony. The Velith ambassador personally placed the medal around her neck. "You saved my people," he said, tears glowing on his bioluminescent face. "We will never forget." Yunji, uncomfortable with the attention, simply said, "I did what anyone would do." But that was exactly the point. To humans, fighting through impossible odds to protect the innocent was not heroic. It was just normal. It was what you did. The galaxy was still learning what that meant. In the assembly chambers, the final formalities were completed. Earth's position was now official. When humans heard a cry for help, they would respond. The galaxy could accept that or not, but it could not stop it. Ambassador Sun He sent a message back to Earth Command. "It is done. We have changed the rules. Now we just have to prove we can live up to our promises." Colonel Kiwan, reading the message on Mars, smiled. "We will. That is what humans do. We keep our promises. All of them." Across the galaxy, in hundreds of small civilizations, beings went to sleep feeling safer than they had in generations. They knew that if the worst happened, if their world was threatened, they had friends who would come, friends who would cross the stars to help them. Friends who had evolved on a death world and brought that fierce protectiveness with them to space. The humans had arrived. The age of unchallenged aggression was over. And in the black between the stars, the Indomitable and dozens of ships like it kept watch, ready to answer the next call, ready to deploy the next fleet, ready to remind the galaxy what happened when you threatened a Deathworlder's friends. They would come. They always would.